The Appalachian Mountains harbor a terrifying secret that park rangers are forbidden from discussing publicly. In certain areas of the Great Smoky Mountains, there are zones where all sound stops. Not gradually, instantly. Complete silence that swallows screams, drowns out heartbeats, and erases footsteps. The Cherokee called these areas the breathtaking places, not because of beauty, but because the mountain literally takes your breath, your voice, your sounds, and sometimes your life. Over the past 30 years, 127 hikers have vanished in these silent zones. Search teams find their equipment arranged in perfect circles, their water bottles still full, their maps marked with locations that don't exist, and most disturbing, their phones all stopped at exactly 3:47 a.m., all containing the same final photo, a dark figure standing impossibly close to the camera, its face a blur of static. My name is Ranger Sarah Mitchell, and I've worked in the Smokies for 11 years. What I'm about to tell you violates Park Service protocol, but people need to know the truth about the silent zones, about what happens when the forest stops making noise, about what moves in that terrible quiet. Every ranger who works in the Great Smoky Mountains receives unofficial training about the silent zones. It's not in any manual, not documented anywhere, but during your first week, a senior ranger takes you aside and explains the rules. If you're on patrol and the forest goes completely silent, no birds, no insects, no wind, you have 90 seconds, my trainer, Ranger Thomas Rivera, told me in 2013. 90 seconds to get out of that area before the silence solidifies. After that, you're trapped. And if you're trapped, you follow the emergency protocol. Don't make loud noises, don't run, and for God's sake, don't scream. Because if you make noise in the silence, it notices you. What notices me? I asked. Thomas didn't answer directly. Instead, he showed me a map. Red zones marked throughout the park. These are documented silent zone locations. They appear randomly. We can't predict when or where, but when you encounter one, you evacuate immediately. Mark the location, report it, and stay out. What happens to people who don't evacuate in time? They disappear completely. We find their gear, sometimes their clothes, but never them, like they've been erased from existence. I thought he was hazing me, trying to scare the new ranger, but 3 months later, I encountered my first silent zone, and I learned that everything Thomas told me was absolutely true. It was a Tuesday in August 2013. I was patrolling the Alum Cave Trail, checking on hikers, making sure everyone had proper permits. The trail was busy, maybe 40 people spread across the 5-mile route. Normal summer day in the Smokies. At approximately 2:15 p.m., I was about 2 miles up the trail when I noticed something wrong. The hikers ahead of me had stopped. All of them, just standing there, looking around with confused expressions. I approached a couple in their 30s. "Everything okay?" "Do you hear that?" the woman asked. "Hear what?" "Nothing. That's the problem. Listen." I stopped and listened. She was right. The forest was completely silent. No bird calls, no rustling leaves, no insect buzz. Even the wind had stopped. The only sounds were human, people breathing, whispering, shuffling their feet. And then I remembered Thomas's warning, 90 seconds. "Everyone needs to move," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Turn around and head back down the trail, quickly but carefully. Don't run, just walk at a steady pace." "Why? What's wrong?" This is a known atmospheric phenomenon in the mountains. It's harmless if we leave the area promptly. Please follow my instructions." Most people complied, started walking back down, but a few were curious, wanted to know more, wanted to investigate. I had to physically turn them around and push them toward the trailhead. I checked my watch. 45 seconds since I'd noticed the silence. 45 seconds left. I got the last hikers moving and started following them down. But as we descended, I felt something wrong, a pressure in the air, like the silence had weight, like it was pressing down on us from above. At 30 seconds remaining, one of the hikers, a teenage boy, decided to test something. He shouted, "Hello!" His voice sounded wrong, muffled, like he was shouting into a pillow. The sound didn't echo, didn't carry, just died immediately. And then something answered. Not a voice, a vibration, like a massive engine starting deep underground. The ground trembled, trees swayed, and in the silence we heard movement, something large, something moving through the forest parallel to the trail. "Run," I said. "Now, run!" We ran, all of us, sprinting down the trail as that thing paced us through the trees. I never saw it clearly, just glimpses of something massive and dark moving between the trunks, something that shouldn't exist. We reached the trailhead at exactly 90 seconds, and the moment we crossed that invisible boundary, normal sounds returned. Birds singing, wind rustling, insects buzzing, like someone had unmuted the world. Behind us, the silent zone remained, a pocket of absolute quiet about 200 yards up the trail. I could see the boundary, a wavering distortion in the air, like heat shimmer. I evacuated all the hikers, filed my report, and marked the location. The silent zone persisted for 6 hours, then dissipated. When we checked the area afterward, we found something disturbing. Footprints, not human, not bare, something else. They were pressed deep into the mud. Whatever made them was heavy, and they led from the silent zone boundary to a spot exactly where the teenage boy had shouted, then back into the forest, like something had approached to investigate the noise, then returned to the shadows when we fled. Over the next 11 years, I encountered 17 more silent zones. Each one followed the same pattern. Stage 1, 0 to 30 seconds. Normal forest sounds cease. Complete silence descends. Stage 2, 30 to 60 seconds. Air pressure increases. Difficulty breathing. Sense of being watched. Stage 3, 60 to 90 seconds. The silence solidifies. Physical sensation of weight. Movement impossible without extreme effort. Stage 4, 90 plus seconds. If you're still in the zone, something comes, something drawn by the silence, or maybe something that creates the silence. We don't know which. We documented dozens of cases, developed protocols, created warning systems, but we couldn't prevent every incident because silent zones appear randomly, without warning, and tourists don't know to recognize the signs. In 2015, we lost a family of 4. They'd been hiking the Charlie's Bunyan Trail, disappeared during a silent zone event. We found their backpacks arranged in a perfect circle at the exact center of where the silence had been. Their phones were inside, all showing the same timestamp, 3:47 a.m., but they'd been missing for 90 minutes before we started searching. The photos showed them trapped in the silent zone, walking in circles, trying to find the exit, the forest around them getting darker and darker, even though the sun should have been up. And in the final photos, you could see it, the thing that lives in the silence. It appeared in the background first, a dark shape, humanoid but wrong proportions, too tall, too thin, then closer, then right behind them, Then, in the final photo, touching them, its hand, if it was a hand, on the father's shoulder. After that, just darkness. The remaining photos were completely black, but the timestamps continued every second until 3:47 a.m. Then they stopped. We never found the family, just their phones, their gear, and footprints, those same massive, heavy prints leading from the circle of backpacks into the deep forest. What is it? What lives in the silent zones? We don't know exactly, but we have theories based on decades of encounters. Theory 1, predator, something that creates the silence to hunt, uses the quiet to detect prey, drawn to noise within its territory. Theory 2, guardian, an entity that maintains these zones for unknown purposes, removes anything that intrudes, doesn't hunt actively, just eliminates trespassers. Theory 3, dimensional breach. The silent zones aren't places in our world. They're overlaps with somewhere else, somewhere quiet, somewhere dark, and the thing we see is native to that other place, briefly visible when the dimensions intersect. I lean towards Theory 3 because of what happened in 2019, the incident that made me realize the silent zones aren't just dangerous, they're portals. June 2019. A hiker named Jessica Carver survived 72 hours in a silent zone. She's the only person who's ever been trapped past the 90-second mark and lived to tell about it. She'd been hiking alone, against regulations, when the silence descended. She tried to evacuate but got disoriented, ran the wrong direction, crossed deeper into the zone instead of out. When we found her 3 days later, she was catatonic, unresponsive, but physically unharmed. We hospitalized her, and after 2 weeks, she started talking. This is what she told us. The silence isn't empty, it's full of something that presses against you like water, like you're drowning in quiet, and in that pressure, you can hear them, not with your ears, with your mind. Whispers in the silence, voices that aren't voices. They were trying to communicate, trying to tell me something. Tell you what? I asked. That we're trespassing, that the mountains were theirs first, before humans, before mammals, before anything. They were here when the Appalachians were taller than the Himalayas, when this was an alien landscape of volcanic stone and ash. They've been here for 480 million years, and every few thousand years they create the silent zones to remind us, to mark their territory, to take back what's theirs. What did they look like? Jessica's eyes went distant, like shadow given weight, like absence given form. They're what's left when you remove everything else, when you subtract sound and light and heat and life. They're the opposite of existence, and they're patient, so patient. They told me they'd wait for us to leave, wait for our cities to crumble, wait for our species to die, and then the mountains will be theirs again, completely, forever. We evaluated Jessica for psychological trauma, diagnosed PTSD, recommended treatment. She underwent therapy for months, but she never went back to the mountains, never even visited the foothills, moved to Florida, the flattest place she could find, because she said she could still hear them sometimes, the whispers in the silence, calling her back, telling her she belonged to them now. She'd entered their territory, stayed too long, and they'd marked her. 6 months after her rescue, Jessica disappeared. Her apartment was found empty, all her belongings arranged in a perfect circle in the living room, her phone on the floor, showing 3:47 a.m. and hundreds of photos, all of them showing her standing in her apartment, but in the background of each photo, barely visible, was a dark shape getting closer, frame by frame, until in the final photo, it was touching her. We searched for her, never found her, but 3 weeks later, a hiker in the Smokies reported seeing a woman matching Jessica's description, standing at the edge of a silent zone, just standing there, watching, not moving. The hiker called out to her, but she didn't respond, didn't react, and when the hiker approached, Jessica walked backward into the silent zone and vanished. I'm telling you this because the silent zones are increasing. What used to be a rare phenomenon, maybe 2 or 3 per month park-wide, now happens daily. Multiple zones, lasting longer, covering more area. Something is changing in the mountains. The entities that create the silence are becoming more active, more aggressive. They're expanding their territory. Last month, we had to close an entire trail system, permanent closure, because a silent zone appeared and didn't dissipate. It's been there for 37 days now, growing slowly but steadily. Already consumed 3 miles of trails. We've established a perimeter, posted warnings, but we can't explain to the public what they're really avoiding. We tell them it's unsafe terrain, rockfall danger, wildlife concerns. We don't tell them the truth, that there's a growing bubble of absolute silence in the heart of the Smokies, a place where sound dies, where anyone who enters is claimed by something ancient and patient. If you visit the Great Smoky Mountains, remember this: if the forest goes completely silent, you have 90 seconds. Don't investigate, don't stop to think, just leave. Walk steadily toward the nearest trailhead or parking area. Don't run, that creates noise. Don't shout, that draws attention. Just walk, quietly, calmly, and pray you make it out before the silence solidifies around you. Because if you don't, you'll meet what lives in that terrible quiet. And once you've met it, once it's noticed you, you'll never escape. Even if you make it out physically, part of you will remain in the silence, and eventually you'll go back. Everyone does. The silence calls them, and they can't resist. I should know. I've been hearing it for 3 years now. The whispers, the voices in the quiet, telling me I belong to them, that I've crossed the boundary too many times, that I'm marked. Last month, I transferred out of the Smokies, moved to a ranger station in Arizona. Desert, open spaces, constant wind, never quiet. I thought distance would help, but last night, at exactly 3:47 a.m., I woke up to complete silence. My AC had stopped, the wind had died, even my heartbeat seemed muffled, and standing at the foot of my bed was a dark shape, tall, thin, wrong. It didn't speak, didn't move, just stood there, watching, waiting. When I turned on the light, it was gone, but on my phone there were photos, hundreds of them, taken throughout the night while I slept, all showing that shape getting closer to my bed, frame by frame, until in the final photo it was touching me. The silence has found me, and soon I'll return to the mountains, not because I want to, but because I have to, because I belong to them now. We all do. Everyone who's ever crossed into a silent zone and survived, we are marked, and eventually they come to collect.
So if you see me in the Smokies, standing at the edge of a silent zone, don't approach, don't call out, just leave, because I won't be me anymore. I'll be theirs. The silence takes everyone eventually. The silence had taken her, not immediately, but eventually. She belonged to it.
If these stories are keeping you hooked, subscribe and stay with us in the dark. Let's proceed with the next story. My name is Ranger Michael Torres, and I need to tell you about the night hikers. Not regular people who hike at night with headlamps and permits, something else. Something that looks like hikers from a distance, but fundamentally isn't human. They appear on Skyline Drive after dark, walking along the road or the trails, always moving at the same pace, slow, steady, purposeful. They're dressed in hiking gear that's slightly wrong, outdated styles, brands that haven't existed for decades, and they never respond to questions, never react to car headlights, just keep walking, always in the same direction, always heading north. I first encountered them in 2018. I was doing a night patrol on Skyline Drive around 2 a.m. when my headlights caught 3 figures walking along the shoulder. Full hiking gear, backpacks, boots, trekking poles, but they weren't using lights, just walking in the darkness like they could see perfectly. I pulled up beside them and rolled down my window. "Folks, the park is closed to hiking after dark. I need to see your permits." They didn't stop, didn't turn, just kept walking, same steady pace, like I didn't exist. I got out of my vehicle and approached. "Excuse me, I'm a park ranger. I need you to stop." That's when I got close enough to see their faces, or rather, where their faces should have been. They had features, eyes, nose, mouth, but something was wrong. The proportions didn't quite match. The expressions were frozen, and their eyes didn't blink, didn't move, just stared straight ahead as they walked. I stepped directly in front of them, blocked their path. They stopped, all 3, standing perfectly still, looking at me with those wrong, unblinking eyes. "Where are you going?" I asked. "North," they said in unison, same voice, same tone, like one consciousness speaking through 3 mouths. "Why?" "We're called. We must go north. We've always gone north. We will always go north." Called by what? They tilted their heads in perfect synchronization. The mountain, the old mountain. It calls and we answer, as we have for centuries, as we will forever. Then they walked around me, just split their formation, flowed around my position, and reformed on the other side, continued north at that same steady pace. I radioed it in, described what I'd seen. The dispatcher thought I was joking or hallucinating, but she sent backup anyway. By the time another ranger arrived, the 3 figures had vanished. Not walked out of sight, just vanished. We searched the area. No footprints, no sign anyone had been there. Just empty road stretching north into darkness. Over the next 6 years, I saw the night hikers 47 times. Always different individuals, but always the same behavior. Always heading north. always moving at that same mechanical pace, always dressed in hiking gear that looked slightly wrong. And I wasn't the only one seeing them. Every ranger who worked night shifts reported encounters. We started documenting them, tracking patterns, trying to understand what they were and what they wanted. We discovered several consistent factors. Factor 1. They only appear between midnight and 4 a.m. Factor 2. They always travel in groups of 3, 5, or 7, never alone, never even numbers. Factor 3. They follow the Appalachian Trail route, even when it diverges from roads. We can track their progress by sightings along the trail corridor. Factor 4. They're always heading north, always, without exception. Factor 5. They don't eat, drink, or rest. They just walk, endlessly, purposefully. Factor 6. They're not hostile. If you block their path, they wait or go around, but they never stop moving north. We tried to investigate further, followed them, attempted to interact, but they ignored us, just kept walking. And if you followed them long enough, you'd lose them. They'd round a bend or enter a tree line and simply disappear. Until 2022, we thought they were ghosts, spirits of dead hikers trapped in some eternal journey. But that year, we discovered something that changed everything. October 2022. A drunk driver was speeding on Skyline Drive at 1:30 a.m., lost control, swerved across the center line, and hit 3 night hikers walking along the shoulder. The driver called 911, hysterical. "I hit them! 3 people! They're dead! Oh God, I killed them!" We responded immediately, found the driver's car with significant front-end damage, windshield shattered, blood on the hood. But when we searched for the victims, we found something impossible. The 3 night hikers were still walking, a quarter-mile north of the accident site. Same steady pace, no injuries, no blood, no sign they'd been hit by a vehicle traveling 50 miles per hour. But we found pieces, fragments left behind at the collision site. Not body parts, something else. Fabric that crumbled to dust when touched. Leather that was so old it disintegrated. And inside the pile of ancient materials, we found items: a canteen from the 1930s, a compass from the 1890s, boots that were Civil War era. These weren't ghosts, they were constructs, physical entities made from the possessions of hikers, built from the materials left behind by centuries of travelers, animated by something, driven north by some compulsion or command. We sent the materials for analysis. The lab results were disturbing. The fabric wasn't just old, it was from different eras, pieces from the 1800s woven together with pieces from the 1960s, like someone had collected hiking gear across 200 years and used it to build bodies. And the blood on the car wasn't human, it was plant matter, tree sap mixed with soil and mineral deposits. The night hikers weren't bleeding, they were leaking, their construction materials seeping out when damaged. But here's the terrifying part. Within 24 hours, the 3 damaged night hikers had repaired themselves. We saw them again 2 nights later. Same 3 figures, same steady walk north, no signs of damage, like the collision had never happened.
Whatever created them had the ability to rebuild them, to replace damaged materials, to maintain their endless journey north. Where are they going? What's north that draws them so compulsively? We investigated, followed the Appalachian Trail northward, tried to identify their destination. The trail terminates at Mount Katahdin in Maine. That's the northern end, the finish point for northbound thru-hikers. So we theorized that's where the night hikers were heading. In 2023, we coordinated with Maine park rangers, asked them to watch Mount Katahdin for unusual activity, report any sightings of figures matching our description. They found something, not on Katahdin itself, but near it, an old formation in the forest, a circle of stones arranged around a depression in the ground. The stones were carved with symbols, old symbols that matched Cherokee and other indigenous markings we'd found throughout the Appalachians. The depression was filled with materials, hiking gear, backpacks, boots, clothing, centuries worth of equipment left behind by travelers, all arranged carefully, reverently, like offerings. And in the center of the circle, a hole, a dark opening descending into the earth. We couldn't see the bottom, couldn't measure its depth, but we could hear something, a sound like breathing, like the mountain itself was inhaling and exhaling. The Maine Rangers set up cameras, watched the site for 3 weeks, and on October 31st, Halloween, though that may be coincidence, they saw them arrive. Dozens of night hikers, maybe hundreds, all converging to that circle from different directions, all walking with that same steady pace, all carrying their ancient gear. They approached the circle, and one by one they walked into the hole, descended into the darkness. The cameras recorded them entering, but none emerged. They just kept walking down, into the earth, into whatever existed beneath the mountain. And the next night in Shenandoah, we saw new night hikers, different faces, different gear, but same behavior, same purpose, starting the journey north.
We investigated the indigenous histories, found references to the night hikers in Cherokee oral traditions. They're called the Walkers Between, spirits that maintain the connection between the southern and northern terminals of the Appalachian Range. They carry messages, transfer energy, maintain balance. The Appalachian Mountains are alive, not metaphorically, actually alive. A single organism stretching 2,000 miles. And the night hikers are its circulatory system, its antibodies, its messengers. They walk the length of the range, connecting the southern roots to the northern peak, transferring something we can't measure or understand. And they've been doing this for thousands of years. Long before the Appalachian Trail existed, long before European settlers arrived. The indigenous peoples knew about them, respected them, understood they were part of the mountain's natural function. But we didn't understand. We tried to interact, interfere, study them. And that was a mistake. Since we started investigating the night hikers, trying to understand them, document them, interfere with their journey, things have changed. The mountain is responding, punishing us for our intrusion. Rangers who followed the night hikers too closely have disappeared, not during the following, later, days or weeks afterward. They vanish from their homes, their stations, their lives. And sometimes hikers report seeing them on Skyline Drive, walking north, dressed in ranger uniforms that look slightly wrong, eyes that don't blink, faces that don't quite match their photographs. They've become night hikers themselves, absorbed into the Appalachian mountain system, transformed into walkers, cursed to journey forever between the southern and northern terminals. I've been careful, never followed too closely, never tried to stop them, but I still see them every night shift, and lately they've been watching me, turning their heads as I pass, following me with those unblinking eyes. Last week, I woke up in my bed to find my ranger uniform laid out on my desk. But it wasn't my uniform. It was old. The patches were from the 1980s. The fabric was weathered. And when I checked my closet, my actual uniform was gone. I'm being measured, prepared. The mountain is considering making me a walker. So I'm retiring, leaving the Park Service, moving away from the Appalachians, getting as far from the mountains as I can, because I've seen what happens to rangers who stay too long, who learn too much, who interfere with the night hikers. They become part of the cycle, part of the mountain's eternal circulation, walking forever north, then descending into that hole beneath Katahdin, then emerging somewhere in the south to begin again. An endless loop, an eternal journey, no rest, no end, just walking, forever. If you're in Shenandoah at night and you see hikers on Skyline Drive, don't approach them, don't offer help, don't try to interact, just drive past, pretend you didn't see them. Because the mountain is watching, and if you interfere with its walkers, you might become one yourself. They're still out there, every night, walking north, carrying the mountain's purpose, maintaining the connection between ancient stone and ancient stone. And they'll be walking long after we're gone, long after our civilization crumbles, long after humanity is forgotten. The night hikers are eternal, the mountain is patient, and the journey north never ends.
My name is Ranger Lisa Chen, and I need to tell you about the incident that made me realize some missing persons should stay missing. Congaree National Park is different from other parks. It's not mountains or desert or dramatic landscapes. It's a floodplain forest. Ancient cypress trees standing in dark water. Boardwalks elevated above swamps. The kind of place that feels primordial, like you've stepped back in time to when the world was younger and stranger. In 2021, a family of 4 went missing in Congaree. The Jacobsons, parents Robert and Jennifer, children Emma, 12, and Noah, 9. They'd registered for a day hike on the King Snake Trail. When they didn't return by dark, we initiated a search. We found their car in the parking lot, found their starting point, but found no trace of them on the trail, no signs of struggle, no equipment left behind, just nothing, like they'd walked into the forest and vanished. We searched for 3 weeks, brought in tracking dogs, helicopters with thermal imaging, volunteer search teams. We covered every inch of the park. The forest gave us nothing. Eventually, we had to call it off, classified them as missing, presumed dead. The official theory was that they'd gone off trail, gotten lost in the swamp, and succumbed to the elements. Tragic, but explainable. Except 6 months later, they came back. March 2022. I was doing a routine patrol on the Weston Lake Loop when I saw them. The Jacobson family, all 4 of them, walking along the boardwalk toward me, wet, muddy, but alive. I radioed immediately.
I found the Jacobsons, all four, Weston Lake Loop, quarter-mile from the trailhead. Within 20 minutes, we had emergency response on scene. Paramedics, police, park administrators, everyone who'd been involved in the search. The family was examined. They were dehydrated, malnourished, suffering from exposure, but alive, conscious, responsive. It was a miracle. But something was wrong. I noticed it immediately, even if no one else did. The family was too calm, too collected for people who'd been lost in the wilderness for 6 months. They weren't panicked, weren't relieved, weren't emotional at all, just blank. We transported them to the hospital. During the ambulance ride, I asked Robert what had happened, where they'd been. He looked at me with empty eyes and said, "We stayed at the house." "What house? There are no houses in Congaree." "The house in the water, the one that's always been there. The keeper let us stay." "What keeper?" But he didn't answer, just looked straight ahead with that empty expression. The police interviewed them extensively. So did the Park Service. Everyone wanted to know what happened, how they survived 6 months in the swamp, where they'd been hiding. Their story didn't make sense. They claimed they'd only been gone for 3 days, that they'd found a house in the forest, an old plantation house standing in the floodwater. The keeper, they never described what the keeper was, just called it the keeper, had invited them in, fed them, gave them beds, told them they could stay as long as they wanted. They said they'd stayed for 3 days, then walked back to the trailhead. They had no idea 6 months had passed, had no explanation for the time discrepancy. Medical examination showed the effects of prolonged malnutrition, but their clothes, the same clothes they'd been wearing when they disappeared, showed only 3 days of wear. Their watches had stopped on the day they vanished. And there were other anomalies. Their skin was wrong, too pale, too smooth, like it had been reconstructed. Their eyes didn't quite focus right, and none of them could remember basic details about their lives before the disappearance. Where they lived, where the kids went to school, Robert's job, all gone, like their memories had been erased and imperfectly restored. The psychologists diagnosed shared trauma-induced amnesia, dissociative fugue state. The physical anomalies were attributed to the effects of prolonged exposure and malnutrition. But I knew better. These weren't the real Jacobsons. Something sent them back. Something built copies and returned them to us. The question was, why?
I went back to Congaree, searched the areas where the family claimed to have been, looking for this house in the water, this plantation that shouldn't exist. I found it on my 3rd day of searching, deep in the old growth section, far from any trails, a structure that appeared when I wasn't looking for it, that manifested when I stopped trying. It was a house, or the suggestion of a house, walls that flickered between solid and translucent, floors that rippled like water, windows that showed different views depending on the angle. And it stood in the middle of the swamp like it belonged there, like it had always been there. I approached carefully. The front door was open, inviting, and from inside I heard voices, children laughing, adult conversation, the sounds of a family.
I looked inside, saw the Jacobsons, all four of them, sitting at a dinner table, eating a meal, talking and smiling like everything was normal. But I knew these Jacobsons were different than the ones who'd returned. These were still in the house, still with the keeper, still trapped in whatever this place was. The ones who came back, the ones being treated at the hospital, they were copies, replacements, sent out to satisfy the searchers, to close the investigation, to make us stop looking. Because the house didn't want us finding it. The keeper didn't want attention. Whatever existed in this impossible structure wanted to be left alone with its guests. I backed away slowly, didn't let them see me, didn't make noise, just retreated to the boardwalk and returned to headquarters. I filed a report, documented everything I'd seen, recommended we return with a larger team, investigate properly, maybe attempt a rescue. The park superintendent denied my request, said I'd experienced a hallucination, stress from the search, seeing what I wanted to see. There was no house, no keeper, just swamp and cypress trees and darkness. But he reassigned me to a different patrol sector, told me to stay away from the old-growth section, stop investigating, let it go. That's when I knew the Park Service was aware. They knew about the house, about the keeper, and they'd decided it was better to ignore it, better to let it have its guests, better to accept the replacements it sent back. Because if we investigated, if we interfered, it might stop returning people, might keep them all, might take more. The Jacobson copies integrated into society, returned to their home. The kids went back to school. Robert went back to work. Jennifer resumed her routines. But they weren't right. Family members noticed, friends noticed, the kids' teachers noticed. There was something off, something missing, like they were perfect physical replicas, but hollow inside, going through the motions of life without actually living it. 6 months after their return, the copies started breaking down. Robert began forgetting how to drive. Jennifer couldn't remember her own birthday. The kids regressed to childlike dependence, like whoever built them had only programmed basic functions, and those were deteriorating. 1 year after the return, Emma disappeared, just vanished from her bedroom. Her parents, the copies, didn't react, didn't report it, just continued their routines like nothing had happened. Police investigated, found Emma's room empty except for a pile of wet leaves and swamp mud arranged in the shape of a child, like she'd dissolved, returned to the materials from which she'd been constructed. 3 months later, Noah disappeared the same way, then Jennifer, then Robert, each reducing to organic matter, leaves, mud, water, the components of the swamp reassembling themselves. Within 18 months of their return, all 4 Jacobsons were gone again, permanently, and their house, their real house in the suburbs, stood empty, a monument to a family that had been briefly copied, briefly returned, then erased.
I researched, found other cases. Throughout the history of Congaree, people had disappeared, and some of them had come back, but never the same, always changed, always wrong, always temporary. In 1834, a plantation owner vanished in the swamp, returned 6 months later with no memory of where he'd been, lived normally for 2 years, then dissolved into Spanish moss and disappeared. In 1923, a lumber surveyor went missing, Found 3 weeks later, claiming he'd been staying at a house in the forest. Lived 12 months, then became water and seaweed. In 1967, a researcher studying cypress trees vanished. Returned 5 months later, existed for 8 months, dissolved. The pattern was consistent. The house takes people, keeps them, sometimes sends back copies. The copies function for a while, weeks, months, occasionally years, then break down, return to nature, become swamp. And the real people? They're still in the house, still with the keeper, existing in that space between solid and liquid, between reality and reflection, between life and something else. What is the keeper? I've seen it once, only once, and I wish I hadn't. I returned to the house's location 6 months after the Jacobson incident, against orders, against protocol, because I needed to understand. The house was there, more solid this time, more real, like it was letting me see it clearly. I approached the door, it opened before I could knock, and standing in the doorway was the keeper. It looked like a person, tall, thin, dressed in old plantation-era clothing, but its face was water, literally. Its features were made of rippling swamp water that constantly moved but held the suggestion of eyes, nose, mouth. And when it spoke, the voice came from everywhere, from the house, from the swamp, from the trees. "You keep returning," it said. "Why?" "I want to know what you are, what this place is, what happens to the people you take." "I preserve them, I keep them. The swamp takes everyone eventually. Disease, drowning, predators, time. I offer an alternative. A house above the water, safety, permanence. They stay with me, and they never have to face the swamp's hunger." "But you send copies back. Why?" "Because you search, because you disrupt, because you won't accept loss. So I give you what you need, the appearance of return, the illusion of rescue. It satisfies you, ends the searching, lets me keep what's mine in peace." "They're not yours, they're people, they have families." The keeper's water face rippled. "They chose to stay, all of them. I don't take unwilling guests. I offer refuge, and they accept. What you see as imprisonment, they see as salvation." "I don't believe you." "Then ask them." It gestured toward the interior of the house. I looked inside, saw dozens of people, maybe hundreds, different eras, different ages, all living in that impossible structure. And they looked content, happy even, like they'd found exactly what they were looking for. The swamp is transformation, death into life, decay into growth. I am that transformation made conscious, made deliberate. I offer escape from the normal cycle. They accept, and in accepting, they become part of something eternal. And when the copies dissolve, they return to me, return to the swamp. The materials I used to build them rejoin the whole. It's all one system, one cycle. You just can't see it because you think in terms of individuals. I think in terms of entirety. The keeper stepped back into the house. Stop searching, stop investigating, stop trying to rescue people who don't want rescue. The swamp takes care of its own, and I am the swamp's keeper. The door closed, the house faded, and I was alone in the forest, standing in water that reflected a structure I could no longer see. I filed my report, detailed everything, the house, the keeper, the copies, the pattern across centuries. I recommended we warn visitors, post notices, explain the danger. The park superintendent buried my report, classified it,
told me that if I discussed it publicly, I'd be terminated and possibly prosecuted for releasing confidential information. Some things, he said, are better left unexplained. The Jacobsons are closed. The family has dissolved. There's nothing more to investigate. Drop it. But I couldn't drop it, because 3 weeks later, a college student went missing in Congaree, and a week after that, she came back, wet, muddy, claiming she'd stayed at a house in the water. And I knew she was a copy, knew the real her was still in the keeper's house, knew she'd dissolve within months. But I couldn't tell their family, couldn't warn them, couldn't explain that their daughter was a temporary replica made of swamp materials and memory. That's when I realized the Park Service knows, has always known. They've made a deal with the keeper, an arrangement. Don't investigate, don't interfere, and the keeper sends back copies, satisfies the families, closes the cases, keeps the park's reputation intact. It's a conspiracy of silence, a decision that some losses are acceptable, that some mysteries should remain unsolved, that some things in the swamp should be left alone. I'm retiring next month, leaving the Park Service, because I can't participate in this anymore, can't help maintain the lie, can't watch families embrace copies of their loved ones while the real ones remain trapped in that impossible house with a keeper made of water. If you visit Congaree, be careful, stay on the boardwalks, don't go off trail, don't explore the old-growth sections, and if you see a house in the water, a structure that seems to flicker in and out of reality, don't approach it, don't investigate, don't let curiosity lead you inside. Because if you go in, you might not come out, or worse, something that looks like you might come out in your place, and your family will embrace it, will take it home, will live with it for months or years until it dissolves back into leaves and water and mud. And you'll still be in that house, still with the keeper, still part of the swamp's eternal transformation, conscious but trapped, preserved but imprisoned, safe from the swamp's hunger but consumed by something worse. The keeper is still there, still offering refuge to those who wander too deep, still sending copies to satisfy the searchers, still maintaining its impossible house in the spaces between water and land. And the Park Service knows, and they've decided to let it continue, because some secrets are better kept, some rescues should never happen, and some missing persons should stay missing.
My name is Ranger David Palmer, and I need to warn you about the trails that aren't on any map, the ones that appear when you're not looking for them, the ones that lead somewhere you can't return from. Olympic National Park is massive, nearly 1 million acres of wilderness, rainforest, mountains, coastline. We have hundreds of miles of established trails, mapped, maintained, safe. But there are other trails, paths that appear and disappear, routes that exist in the spaces between our maps. And if you take one of these wrong trails, you might walk forever. In 2020, an experienced hiker named Marcus Webb disappeared on the Hoh River Trail. He'd done this trail dozens of times, knew it perfectly. But on this trip, he never came back. We searched extensively, found nothing. Another missing hiker, another unsolved case. Except 2 years later, he sent an email from his own account to park headquarters. Subject line, "Still hiking, can't find the end." The email was timestamped March 15th, 2022, 2 years and 3 months after Marcus's disappearance. Here's what it said. "To whoever receives this, I'm still in Olympic National Park. I've been hiking the Hoh River Trail for 827 days.
I can't find the end. The trailhead keeps moving. Every time I think I'm approaching the exit, the path turns and continues. I've walked thousands of miles. The trail just keeps going. I'm not injured. I don't age here. Don't get hungry or thirsty. My gear doesn't wear out. It's like time stopped when I took the wrong turn. But I remember everything, every step, every day. I'm conscious and aware and trapped on an infinite trail. Please help. Send someone to find me. I'm on the Ho River Trail. I've been following it north, or what I think is north. Directions are strange here. The sun doesn't move properly. And I see other hikers sometimes, always in the distance, always walking the same direction, never getting closer or further away. If you receive this, please respond. Tell me someone knows I'm here. Tell me you're looking for me. Tell me there's an end to this trail. Marcus Webb, Day 827. We thought it was a hoax, someone accessing Marcus's email account, playing a sick joke. But the IT forensics showed the email originated from inside the park, from somewhere on the Ho River Trail system, sent from Marcus's phone, which should have been dead 2 years ago. We sent a response. Marcus, this is Olympic National Park Service. We're reading your message. Where exactly are you? Can you describe landmarks? We'll send a team. 3 days later, he replied, Thank you for responding. I've been alone for so long. As for landmarks, there are no landmarks. The trail looks the same everywhere. Forest, river, path. It repeats endlessly. But wait, I see something ahead, a sign. First sign I've seen in months. I'll report what it says. The sign says, Ho River Trail, miles 0.5, 17.3 miles to Visitor Center. But that's impossible. I've walked thousands of miles. How can I still be at mile 0.5? Unless the trail resets, unless it loops. Oh God, have I been walking in circles for 2 years? Is the trail folding back on itself? I'm going to try something. I'm leaving the trail, going to walk perpendicular to it, see if I can break out of this loop. I'll email again when I reach the edge. Marcus Webb, Day 827. That was the last email we received. We've sent dozens of replies, no response. Whatever he found when he left the trail, he either couldn't or didn't report it.
I led the investigation team. We hiked the Ho River Trail from end to end, checked every mile, looking for anything unusual, any explanation for Marcus's impossible emails. At mile 0.5, we found something, a junction, a split in the trail that wasn't on our maps. It looked old, overgrown, but still visible. A path leading off into the forest at an angle that didn't match any established trails. We marked it, followed it for 100 yards. The path looked maintained but wrong, too straight, too uniform, like it had been engineered rather than worn by feet. After a quarter mile, we found a sign, Park Service style, professional, official. It read, Ho River Trail, mile 0.5, 17.3 miles to Visitor Center. The exact same sign Marcus had described in his email, but this was a quarter mile off the main trail. How did he find it? And more importantly, if this was mile 0.5, where did the trail lead? We continued. The path maintained that unnatural straightness. The forest around us looked
off, too symmetrical, trees spaced too evenly, undergrowth too uniform, like a simulation, like someone had created a convincing replica of the Olympic rainforest but gotten the details slightly wrong. At half a mile, we found another sign, mile 0.5, 17.3 miles to visitor center. Exact same sign, same wording, same mileage, like the trail had reset, like we'd walked in a circle despite maintaining a straight path. My second-in-command, Ranger Jennifer Hayes, checked her GPS. This doesn't make sense. GPS shows we've walked 0.6 miles in a straight line, but we're right back at the same sign. We marked the sign with spray paint, continued forward. At another half mile, we found the sign again, same position, but with our spray paint mark on it. We'd walked in a perfectly straight line and somehow returned to our starting point. Spatial anomaly, Jennifer said. The space here is folded. We're walking on a path that curves through a dimension we can't perceive. We think we're going straight, but we're actually traveling in a circle. How is that possible? I don't know. But if Marcus took this trail, if he walked this loop thinking he was making progress, he could have been walking in circles for 2 years, covering the same ground over and over without realizing it. We tried different strategies. Walking perpendicular to the trail, we ended up back on it after 100 yards. Walking backwards, same result. Even tried climbing a tree to get above the anomaly and observe it from outside. But from above, the trail looked normal, straight, no visible loop or fold. The spatial distortion was imperceptible from any angle. We were trapped in the same loop Marcus had found, walking what felt like straight paths, but actually traveling in a circle, or perhaps in a spiral, or some other shape that three-dimensional perception couldn't properly classify. After 6 hours and 47 attempts to break the loop, we found the exit, completely by accident. Jennifer stumbled over a root, fell off the trail and rolled several feet down an embankment. When she stood up, she was outside the anomaly, back in normal forest. She called up, "I can see you. You're walking in circles. The trail is looping. You keep passing the same tree." From our perspective, we were walking straight. From hers, we were trapped in a 20-foot diameter circle, walking the same path over and over. She threw me a rope. I grabbed it and let her pull me off the trail. The moment I left the path, I could see it too. The loop, the fold, my team members walking in endless circles while believing they were making linear progress. We evacuated everyone, got them off the loop trail, and we marked it, posted warnings, closed that junction. But we knew there were others, dozens probably, hundreds maybe, hidden junctions throughout the park, trails that led into folded space, paths that trapped hikers in eternal loops. And Marcus Webb was still on one of them, walking his 827th day, maybe his 1,000th now, maybe his 10,000th. Time was meaningless in there. He could walk forever and never age, never hunger, never escape. I led the investigation team. We hiked the Hoh River Trail from end to end, checked every mile, looking for anything unusual, any explanation for Marcus's impossible emails. At mile 0.5, we found something, a junction, a split in the trail that wasn't on our maps. It looked old, overgrown, but still visible. A path leading off into the forest at an angle that didn't match any established trails. We marked it, followed it for 100 yards, The path looked maintained but wrong, too straight, too uniform, like it had been engineered rather than worn by feet. After a quarter-mile, we found a sign, Park Service style, professional, official. It read, Ho River Trail, mile 0.5, 17.3 miles to Visitor Center. The exact same sign Marcus had described in his email, but this was a quarter-mile off the main trail. How did he find it? And more importantly, if this was mile 0.5, where did the trail lead? We continued. The path maintained that unnatural straightness. The forest around us looked off, too symmetrical, trees spaced too evenly, undergrowth too uniform, like a simulation, like someone had created a convincing replica of the Olympic rainforest but gotten the details slightly wrong. At half a mile, we found another sign, mile 0.5, 17.3 miles to Visitor Center. Exact same sign, same wording, same mileage, like the trail had reset, like we'd walked in a circle despite maintaining a straight path. My second-in-command, Ranger Jennifer Hayes, checked her GPS. This doesn't make sense. GPS shows we've walked 0.6 miles in a straight line, but we're right back at the same sign. We marked the sign with spray paint, continued forward. At another half mile, we found the sign again, same position, but with our spray paint mark on it. We'd walked in a perfectly straight line and somehow returned to our starting point. Spatial anomaly, Jennifer said. The space here is folded. We're walking on a path that curves through a dimension we can't perceive. We think we're going straight, but we're actually traveling in a circle. How is that possible? I don't know, but if Marcus took this trail, if he walked this loop thinking he was making progress, he could have been walking in circles for 2 years, covering the same ground over and over without realizing it. We tried different strategies. Walking perpendicular to the trail, we ended up back on it after 100 yards. Walking backwards, same result. Even tried climbing a tree to get above the anomaly and observe it from outside. But from above, the trail looked normal, straight, no visible loop or fold. The spatial distortion was imperceptible from any angle. We were trapped in the same loop Marcus had found, walking what felt like straight paths, but actually traveling in a circle, or perhaps in a spiral, or some other shape that three-dimensional perception couldn't properly classify. After 6 hours and 47 attempts to break the loop, we found the exit, completely by accident. Jennifer stumbled over a root, fell off the trail, and rolled several feet down an embankment. When she stood up, she was outside the anomaly, back in normal forest. She called up, "I can see you. You're walking in circles. The trail is looping. You keep passing the same tree." From our perspective, we were walking straight. From hers, we were trapped in a 20-foot diameter circle, walking the same path over and over. She threw me a rope. I grabbed it and let her pull me off the trail. The moment I left the path, I could see it too. The loop, the fold. My team members walking in endless circles while believing they were making linear progress. We evacuated everyone, got them off the loop trail, and we marked it, posted
warnings, closed that junction. But we knew there were others. Dozens, probably, hundreds maybe, hidden junctions throughout the park. Trails that led into folded space, paths that trapped hikers in eternal loops. And Marcus Webb was still on one of them, walking his 827th day, maybe his 1,000th now, maybe his 10,000th, Time was meaningless in there. He could walk forever and never age, never hunger, never escape. Against protocol, I went back to the junction, alone, because I needed to see, needed to understand what had trapped these people. I followed the wrong trail, let myself get caught in the loop, walked in circles for 3 hours, and then I did what Diana had done. I waited for the space to shift, for the equinox effect to create an exit. It wasn't the equinox, but spatial anomalies fluctuate, and on my 4th hour, I felt it. A change in pressure, a warping of perception, and ahead of me, where the trail had always curved back to the start, there was a new path, straight, descending, leading deeper into the fold. I followed it. The forest disappeared, replaced by something else, a space that existed between places, where trails from all over the park, maybe all over the world, connected. A nexus, a hub. And at the center of the hub was a structure made entirely of paths, trails woven together like basketwork, creating walls, floors, geometry that hurt to look at because it existed in too many dimensions simultaneously. And standing in that structure were figures, humanoid but wrong, made of the same path material as the building, like they were woven from trails themselves, living representations of the concept of journey given form. They saw me, turned to face me, and I understood. These were the trail makers, the entities that created paths, not just in Olympic, everywhere. They wove routes through space, created shortcuts between distant points, folded reality to allow travel. But sometimes they made mistakes, or perhaps experiments, paths that looped instead of progressing, trails that trapped instead of transporting. And hikers who found these wrong trails became stuck, became specimens, became data for the trail makers to study. We were their research subjects. Our endless walking taught them how consciousness perceived infinite loops, how the mind handled spatial paradoxes, how hope persisted even in impossible circumstances. One of them approached me, reached out with an appendage that was both hand and path, and showed me something. A vision, a memory, their memory. I saw the earth before humans, before animals, when the only movement was geological, slow, tectonic. And these entities were there, creating paths for energy to flow, for heat to distribute, for the planet to organize itself. They were ancient, fundamental. They'd been making trails since the planet had surface to walk on. And when life evolved, when things that moved appeared, the trail makers adapted, created paths for migration, for spread, for journey. They weren't evil, they weren't malevolent, they were doing what they'd always done, making trails. And occasionally, those trails folded wrong, and occasionally, conscious beings got caught in the folds. They showed me the hikers, all of them, hundreds, thousands maybe, not just in Olympic, in parks all over the world, all walking infinite loops, all trapped in folded paths, all contributing data to the trail makers' endless research into the nature of journey, destination, and the spaces between. And then the vision ended. The entity withdrew, and the path back to my reality appeared. I could leave, I could return to normal space, but I'd been gone for 9 hours, and I knew I could never tell anyone what I'd seen, because
How could I explain entities made of paths, structures made of trails, a hub that connected all journeys everywhere?
I filed a sanitized report. Spatial anomaly confirmed. Cause unknown. Recommend permanent closure. I didn't mention the trail makers, the hub, the truth about what trapped the hikers. Because the truth was too large, too incomprehensible, too threatening to our understanding of reality. Better to classify it as unexplained phenomenon. Better to close the junctions and hope the wrong trails stopped appearing. But they haven't stopped. Every month, new junctions appear. New paths split off from maintained trails. New hikers disappear into the folds, and we can't prevent it. Can't warn people adequately without admitting the truth. Can't rescue anyone once they're trapped. The best we can do is monitor, document, and quietly close the junctions we find, knowing that somewhere in the folds, hundreds of hikers are walking infinite loops, contributing to research they don't understand, trapped in journeys that never end. If you hike in Olympic National Park, or any park really, stay on mapped trails. If you see a junction that isn't on your map, don't take it. If a path looks too straight, too uniform, too perfect, avoid it. If your GPS starts malfunctioning, turn back immediately. And if you feel like you're walking in circles, if landmarks seem to repeat, if the trail never ends, stop. Leave the path. Walk perpendicular to it until you break free. Don't keep walking, hoping the exit is just ahead, because it isn't. The loop is infinite, and the only way out is to refuse to participate. Marcus Webb is still walking. Day 1679 now, maybe more. Diana Foster is still walking. All the infinite hikers are still walking. They'll walk forever unless they make the choice to step off the path. But most won't, because stepping off means facing the unknown, and walking the loop, however pointless, feels like progress. The trail makers are still here, still weaving paths, still folding space, still collecting data on consciousness and journey and the nature of being lost. They've been here since the planet formed. They'll be here long after we're gone. And somewhere in the spaces between trails, in the folds that connect all journeys, the hub waits, growing, expanding, adding new loops as new wrong trails are created. The Park Service knows. Other park services around the world know. We've all made the same decision. Contain what we can, document what we find, and don't tell the public the truth, because the truth is too strange, too vast, too incomprehensible. Some hikers are lost to bears, some to falls, some to exposure, and some to infinite trails that fold through dimensions we can't perceive, created by entities that predate our species, maintained for purposes we don't understand. Those are the ones we can't save. Those are the ones who walk forever, and those are the ones whose families we lie to, telling them their loved one got lost, probably died. We're sorry for your loss. When the truth is, they're still walking. We'll always be walking, in loops that never end, on trails that lead nowhere and everywhere simultaneously, forever. My name is Ranger Christine Okafor, and I need to tell you about the photographs we can't allow the public to see. The images that show what Zion National Park really is. What lives in the canyon walls, what watches from the sandstone towers. Every park has secrets. Zion's secret is visible in photographs, not to the naked eye, only through cameras. Something about how cameras capture light, how they record reality, reveals things that human perception filters out. Things that are always there, but that our brains refuse to acknowledge. We discovered this in 2017 when a tourist submitted a photo to our Lost and Found. She'd photographed her family at Angel's Landing, standard scenic shot. But when we reviewed the image, we saw something else. Something in the background, standing on a ledge above the family, watching them. It was humanoid, roughly 8 feet tall, made of sandstone, or appearing to be made of sandstone. Its texture matched the canyon walls exactly. It was camouflaged perfectly against the rock, but the camera saw it, captured it, revealed its presence. We examined all our archived photographs, thousands of images submitted by tourists over the years, and we found them everywhere. These sandstone figures, standing on ledges, perched on towers, watching from crevices, always motionless, always perfectly camouflaged, always invisible to the naked eye, but captured by cameras. We called them the Watchers. And once we knew to look for them, we realized they were in almost every photograph taken in Zion. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Silent observers, ancient sentinels, part of the landscape itself come alive. The Park Service immediately classified this information, created a protocol for handling photographs that showed the Watchers. We don't destroy the images, that would raise suspicions. We just don't share them. Don't post them on social media. Don't include them in park publications. We quietly remove them from circulation. But occasionally, tourists notice. They see the Watchers in their own photos. They ask questions, and we have a script for that too. It's a natural rock formation. The human brain is wired to see faces and figures in random patterns. It's called pareidolia, completely normal. Most people accept that explanation, but some don't. Some people investigate, start taking more photographs, documenting the Watchers systematically, mapping their locations, trying to understand what they are. Those people? We have a protocol for them too. In 2019, a geology professor named Dr. Raymond Foster visited Zion with professional photographic equipment. He was researching erosion patterns in Navajo sandstone, but what he discovered was the Watchers. He photographed them systematically, different times of day, different lighting conditions, different angles, and he realized they moved. Not when he was watching, not when human eyes were on them, but between photographs, between observations. He'd photograph a canyon wall at 9 a.m., nothing visible. Then photograph the same wall at 10 a.m., the Watcher would be there. Photograph again at 11 a.m., the Watcher would have moved. Different position, different pose, but still perfect camouflage, still invisible to direct observation. Dr. Foster became obsessed, spent 6 weeks in the park, took over 10,000 photographs, mapped the positions of 147 distinct Watchers, tracked their movement patterns, developed a theory about what they were and what they were doing. He approached park administration, requested a meeting, said he had important findings about animate geological formations in Zion. We knew immediately what he'd discovered, and we knew we had to stop him from publishing. We met with Dr. Foster in a conference room. He presented his research, his photographs, his maps, his theories, and he asked the question we'd been dreading. Are you aware that Zion National Park contains living entities made of stone, and are you doing anything to study them or protect them? We denied it, showed him geological surveys, explained erosion patterns, demonstrated how rock formations can appear to change due to lighting and perspective. We gave him the pareidolia explanation, suggested he was seeing patterns that didn't exist. He didn't believe us.
I have 10,000 photographs that prove these entities exist. I can show their movement patterns. I can demonstrate their awareness. They're not rocks, they're alive, or something like alive, and you're covering it up. Dr. Foster, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but you're mistaken. These are natural formations. Then explain this. He pulled up a photograph on his laptop, a watcher standing on a ledge, and next to it, carved into the sandstone, were symbols, deliberate marks, geometric patterns. I found these carvings near every watcher. They're not natural. They're not from any known human culture. These things are communicating, creating symbols, marking their territory. That's when we knew Dr. Foster had gone too far, had learned too much, had evidence that couldn't be easily dismissed. We needed to contain the situation. We confiscated his research, claimed it was illegally collected on federal land without proper permits, threatened him with prosecution if he published or discussed his findings, escorted him out of the park. And we thought that was the end of it. But 3 weeks later, Dr. Foster posted his research online. Every photograph, every map, every piece of evidence, he released it all to the public with a statement. Zion National Park is home to living entities made of stone. The Park Service knows about them and is actively covering up their existence. This is my proof.
The post went viral. Millions of views, thousands of shares. Media outlets picked it up. Conspiracy theorists had a field day. And suddenly, Zion was flooded with people trying to photograph the watchers, trying to prove or disprove Dr. Foster's claims. We went into damage control, issued statements denying everything, called Dr. Foster's research pseudoscience, brought in geologists to explain the formations, psychological experts to discuss pareidolia. We discredited him professionally and personally, and it worked. Within a month, the story died. People lost interest. Dr. Foster was dismissed as a crank. His photographs were explained away as misinterpretations of natural rock formations. The consensus became he'd seen patterns that didn't exist, become obsessed with a delusion. Classic case of confirmation bias and pattern-seeking behavior. But those of us who worked in Zion knew the truth. The watchers were real, and Dr. Foster had documented them accurately. Everything he claimed was true. We just couldn't let the public know, because if people believed the watchers existed, they'd have questions. They'd want research, investigation, protection, or removal. And we couldn't allow any of that, because we didn't understand the watchers ourselves, didn't know what they were or what they wanted, and we were afraid that interfering with them might be catastrophic. Better to maintain the cover-up. Better to let people think Dr. Foster was delusional. Better to keep taking photographs and quietly removing the ones that showed watchers. Maintain plausible deniability. That strategy worked for 3 years, until the incident at Angel's Landing. The incident that proved the watchers weren't just watching, they were protecting something, and they'd kill to keep it protected. June 2022, a group of 8 hikers attempted to reach Angel's Landing at sunset. Technically allowed, but discouraged. We prefer people descend before dark. But this group wanted sunset photos from the summit. We couldn't legally prevent them. They reached the top at 7:45 p.m., took their photos, standard tourist shots. But one of them, a man named Travis Chen, decided to explore further, climbed past the safety chains, onto areas that were technically accessible but extremely dangerous and prohibited. He found something, a crevice in the rock, hidden from normal vantage points. He photographed it, then climbed inside to explore. The crevice led to a chamber, a hollow space within the sandstone formation, and inside that chamber were the symbols. Thousands of them, carved into every surface, covering the walls, floor, ceiling. The same geometric patterns Dr. Foster had documented, but concentrated, elaborate, like this was the source, the center, the watcher's holy place, or archive, or something.
Travis photographed everything, spent 20 minutes in that chamber documenting. Then he emerged, started descending, told his group what he'd found, showed them the photos. That's when the watchers revealed themselves. All 8 hikers saw them simultaneously, not through cameras, with their own eyes. The watchers stepped away from the canyon walls, revealed their true forms, no longer camouflaged, no longer invisible. 8-foot-tall figures made of sandstone, moving with impossible grace, descending from ledges, climbing across sheer faces, converging on the hiking group. The hikers ran, all 8, sprinting down Angel's Landing Trail in near darkness, terrified. And the watchers pursued, not running, flowing, moving across the rock like water, like the stone itself was reshaping to allow their passage. 3 hikers made it to the bottom, burst into the visitor center, hysterical, claiming they'd been chased by stone monsters, claiming their 5 companions had been caught, taken, dragged into the canyon walls. We launched a rescue operation immediately, hiked up Angel's Landing with lights and equipment, found no trace of the missing 5 hikers. No bodies, no gear, no blood, just empty trail. But we found something else. Footprints, not human, not animal. Impressions in the sandstone itself, like the rock had been soft when these things walked on it, like they'd left marks in what should be solid stone. The 3 survivors were interviewed extensively. All told the same story. The watchers had emerged, had pursued them, had caught 5 of their group and pulled them into the canyon walls. Literally. The stone had opened like liquid, swallowed the hikers, then solidified again. We searched for 6 days, found nothing. The 5 hikers had vanished completely. And their phones, which should have been in their pockets, were found in a neat row on a ledge, arranged carefully, deliberately, all showing the same image, the interior of the chamber, the forbidden space Travis had photographed. It was a message, a warning. You went where you shouldn't. You documented what should remain hidden. This is the price. I was part of the team that entered the chamber, the forbidden space Travis had found. We needed to understand what was so important that the watchers would break their invisibility to protect it. The chamber was exactly as Travis had photographed, covered in symbols. But we brought equipment, cameras, lights, measuring tools, and we documented everything. The symbols were a language or a record. They told a story in images, the story of the watchers, the story of Zion. 250 million years ago, when Zion was a desert, when these rocks were sand dunes, something lived here. Not biological life, something else. Consciousness in mineral form, awareness in stone. They existed in the sand, were the sand, individual grains that formed a collective intelligence. Over millions of years, the sand compressed into sandstone. The transformation should have killed them, should have ended their existence. But they adapted, evolved, learned to exist in solid form, became the rock itself. When humans arrived, when we started carving trails and building structures, the watchers watched, curious, patient, trying to understand these brief organic things that moved across their surface. They created the symbols to record their observations, their understanding, their history. The chamber was their archive, their library, the accumulated knowledge of 250 million years of existence. And Travis had photographed it, had documented their most sacred space, had violated the one place they wanted to remain secret. So they revealed themselves, broken their own rules about remaining unseen, and they'd taken 5 humans as compensation, as payment for the transgression. Where are those 5 hikers now? We don't know. The symbols suggest the watchers can integrate organic matter into stone, can preserve consciousness in mineral form. The 5 might still be alive,
aware but trapped in sandstone, experiencing time at geological speeds. A second of human time equals millennia of stone time. From their perspective, they've been gone for moments. From ours, they've been gone for years. And they'll remain in the stone until it erodes, until the canyon wears down, until the sandstone returns to sand. Millions of years from now.
After the Angel's Landing incident, we established the photograph protocol. New rules for handling images of the watchers. New procedures for preventing people from discovering the chamber. Rule 1. All photographs submitted to the Park Service are screened. Images showing watchers are quietly removed from circulation. Rule 2. The chamber at Angel's Landing is sealed. We've carefully collapsed the entrance, made it look like natural erosion, posted signs warning of unstable rock. No one will find it now. Rule 3. Anyone who reports seeing the watchers in person is immediately quarantined. We conduct psychological evaluation, suggest they experienced altitude-induced hallucination, offer them plausible explanations, and we monitor them, make sure they don't publicize their experience. Rule 4. Researchers like Dr. Foster are actively discouraged, intimidated if necessary. We can't allow systematic documentation of the watchers, can't risk another breach of the chamber. The protocol has worked. For 4 years, we've maintained the secret, prevented public knowledge of what lives in Zion's walls, kept the watchers hidden. But it's getting harder, because they're becoming more active, more visible, almost like they want to be discovered, like they're tired of hiding. Last month, a tourist photographed a watcher in broad daylight. Clear image, undeniable. The figure was standing on a ledge in direct sunlight. No way to explain it as shadow or pareidolia. It was obviously alive, obviously not rock. We confiscated the camera, claimed it for evidence in an unrelated investigation, paid the tourist compensation for the inconvenience, destroyed the photograph. But we know we can't do this forever. Eventually, someone will get a photo we can't confiscate. We'll post it before we can intervene. We'll prove the watchers exist. And then what? Do we admit the truth? Do we acknowledge that Zion is inhabited by 250-million-year-old intelligences made of sandstone? Do we explain that they've been watching us for thousands of years, that they preserve their victims in stone, that they'll defend their secrets with lethal force? Or do we maintain the denial? Keep dismissing evidence, keep calling witnesses delusional, keep the cover-up going as long as possible. I'm retiring next month, leaving the Park Service, because I can't participate in this anymore, can't help hide the truth, can't watch the watchers grow more bold while we pretend they don't exist. Last week, I returned to the Angel's Landing chamber. The entrance we'd collapsed has been reopened, not by erosion, deliberately. The watchers rebuilt it, cleared the debris, made it accessible again, like they want people to find it, like they're inviting investigation. And inside the chamber, there's a new carving, fresh symbols, added recently. They translate roughly to, "The hiding time is ending. The revelation time approaches. Prepare." The watchers are planning something, getting ready to reveal themselves on their own terms. And when they do, the photograph protocol won't matter. The cover-up will be exposed. The truth will be undeniable. Are they hostile? I don't think so. But they're protective, territorial, and they don't think on human timescales. What seems like patience to us is just how they experience time, and what seems like warning to them might be lethal to us. So I'm warning you, if you visit Zion, be careful what you photograph. Look at your images carefully.
If you see figures in the background, if you see shapes on ledges, if you see anything that looks almost but not quite like rock formations, don't investigate. Don't try to see them in person. Don't search for their sacred spaces. Just enjoy the canyon's beauty, take your photos, and leave the watchers alone. Because they're watching you. They see you even when you can't see them. They've been watching for 250 million years, and they'll be watching long after we're gone. The only question is, when they decide to stop hiding, will they see us as guests in their canyon, or as invaders who need to be preserved in stone for the next 250 million years? I don't want to be here to find out.
My name is Ranger Carlos Mendoza, and I need to warn you about the deepest parts of Mammoth Cave, the sections we don't show tourists, the passages that descend beyond mapped territory, and the sickness that claims anyone who goes too deep. Mammoth Cave is the longest cave system in the world, over 400 miles of explored passages, but that's just what we've mapped. The unexplored sections could be twice that, 3 times. We don't know. Because there are places in Mammoth Cave where rangers refuse to go. Places where the depth does something to your mind, to your body, to your perception of reality. We call it the depth sickness. It affects anyone who descends below the 600-foot level. Symptoms include spatial disorientation, time dilation, and hallucinations. But those are just the early stages. If you go deeper, past 800 feet, the sickness becomes permanent, changes you fundamentally, transforms you into something that can't live on the surface anymore. I've seen it happen. Watched colleagues descend too deep and come back wrong. Watched them struggle to adjust to normal light, normal air, normal gravity. Watch them eventually return to the deep caves and never emerge. The depth calls them back, and they can't resist. Every ranger who works Mammoth Cave is briefed about the depth sickness. It's not official protocol, not documented anywhere, but senior rangers pass the knowledge down, teach you to recognize the signs, teach you to avoid the deep passages. The first sign is the silence, not absence of sound, a different quality of silence. Heavy, pressing, like the darkness has weight, and that weight suppresses noise. The second sign is the temperature inversion. Most caves maintain constant temperature, but in the deep sections it gets warmer as you descend. Not natural geothermal warming, something else. Like you're descending toward a heat source, towards something that radiates warmth and attracts you to it. The third sign is the time distortion. Your watch stops working properly, or speeds up, or slows down. Time becomes elastic, unreliable. You think you've been underground for 2 hours, but when you surface, 8 hours have passed. Or you think you've been down for 8 hours, but only 20 minutes have elapsed. When you experience all 3 signs, you're supposed to evacuate immediately. Mark your depth, report the location. Don't investigate further, because beyond those signs is the threshold, the point of no return. And if you cross it, you'll contract the depth sickness. I learned about the depth sickness in 2016 when a ranger named Samuel Torres descended to 700 feet while surveying a newly discovered passage. He was down for 6 hours. When he emerged, he seemed normal, tired, disoriented, but physically fine. But over the next week, he changed, started avoiding daylight, complained that surface light was too bright, too harsh, started wearing sunglasses indoors, eventually wore them constantly, even in darkness. He lost weight, not from malnutrition, from something else, like his body was becoming less dense, less substantial.
He moved differently too, smoother, like he was floating instead of walking. And he developed an obsession with depth, constantly talked about the passages below 600 feet, drew maps of unexplored sections, theorized about what might exist at 1,000 feet, at 2,000, at the bottom of the system. 3 weeks after his descent, Samuel requested assignment to the deepest survey team, said he wanted to map the unexplored sections, chart the passages below 800 feet. We denied the request, recognized the symptoms, tried to keep him on surface duties, but he went anyway. One night he took equipment and descended alone, violated every protocol, went to 950 feet, stayed down for 14 hours. When we found him the next day, he'd changed completely. His skin was pale, translucent, almost glowing faintly in the darkness. His eyes were completely black, pupils so dilated they'd consumed the iris, and he couldn't speak properly anymore, just whispered, like his voice had adapted to the deep silence. We brought him to the surface, tried to get him medical attention, but surface light burned him. Actual burns on his skin from normal sunlight, and normal air felt wrong to him. Too thin, too dry. He couldn't breathe properly unless he was underground. After 3 days, Samuel returned to the cave, descended to 950 feet, and he's still down there, 7 years later, living in the deep passages. We've seen him occasionally on surveys. He's adapted completely to the depth now, doesn't need food, doesn't age, just exists in the darkness, part of the cave system itself. He's not the first, and he wasn't the last. The Park Service tried to study the depth sickness, understand its cause, develop treatments or prevention. We brought in medical researchers, environmental specialists, psychologists. They established that the sickness isn't biological. It's not a pathogen or toxin. It's spatial. Something about the geometry of the deep caves affects consciousness, alters perception, rewires the brain to function in non-standard space. And when you spend time in those folded spaces, your consciousness adapts, learns to navigate the extra dimensions, becomes native to that geometry. But that adaptation makes you incompatible with normal space, makes the surface world feel wrong, uncomfortable, hostile. The researchers proposed that Mammoth Cave extends beyond our reality, that the deepest passages don't exist entirely in our dimension. They intersect with somewhere else, somewhere where the rules are different. And the depth sickness is what happens when human consciousness touches that elsewhere and gets pulled towards it.
In 2019, a team of 5 researchers and 2 rangers descended to 1,200 feet, deepest intentional descent on record. They wanted to document the non-Euclidean properties, map the dimensional folding, understand where the cave led. They were equipped with every safeguard we could provide: protective equipment, emergency beacons, constant radio contact, medical monitoring, a surface team ready to extract them at the first sign of trouble. They reached 1,200 feet without issue, began their documentation. For the first hour, radio contact was normal. Then the reports started getting strange. The passages here, they don't connect right. We can see a chamber ahead, but when we walk toward it, the distance doesn't decrease, like we're on a treadmill. Temperature is 97 degrees and climbing. There's no geothermal source that would explain this. The warmth is coming from the space itself. Time is wrong. Our watches show we've been here for 3 hours, but our metabolic monitors indicate only 40 minutes have passed. We're experiencing temporal dilation. Then, we found something, a structure, not natural, made of,
We don't know what. Stone, but not stone. It's warm to the touch, and it's humming, resonating at a frequency we can feel in our bones. Final transmission. We're going to investigate the structure. We'll report findings in silence. Radio contact lost. Emergency beacons activated but showing impossible locations. The signals placed the teams simultaneously at 1,200 feet and 3,000 feet and back at the surface, like they existed in multiple depths at once. We mobilized rescue immediately, descended to 1,200 feet, found the passage they'd entered, but couldn't follow it. The geometry was too distorted. We'd walk forward and end up back where we started, or end up in a completely different passage. The space didn't behave consistently. We searched for 3 days, found nothing. No sign of the 7 team members, no equipment, no bodies, just that humming structure they'd mentioned, a formation of crystalline material that resonated when approached, that felt warm and alive and wrong. We marked the location and evacuated, classified the structure, designated the entire 1,200-foot level as prohibited, sealed the access passages. But 6 months later, one of the team members emerged, Dr. Sarah Kim. She surfaced at the main entrance, walking calmly, appearing physically normal. Except she wasn't. She'd changed. Her biology was different. Blood tests showed impossible chemistry. Her cells were crystalline, not carbon-based anymore, silicon-based, like she'd been transformed into living stone. And she couldn't communicate properly, just hummed, that same resonant frequency we'd heard from the structure. When we tried to ask her questions, she'd just touch us, and when she touched us, we'd see things, memories that weren't ours, knowledge we shouldn't have. Through those touches, we learned what happened to the expedition. They'd encountered the structure, touched it, been absorbed into it, integrated with whatever intelligence exists at the deepest levels of Mammoth Cave, transformed into something new, something that exists partially in our dimension and partially in the elsewhere. Dr. Kim had been sent back as a messenger, as proof, as a demonstration of what the depth offers, transformation into a higher dimensional state, evolution beyond biological limitation, existence as pure consciousness in crystalline form. After 2 weeks on the surface, Dr. Kim returned to the cave, descended to 1,200 feet, and she's still down there, along with her 6 colleagues and the dozens of others who've been claimed by the depth sickness over the decades. All of them transformed, all of them part of the structure now, all of them humming in harmony with the intelligence that lives in the deepest dark. What is the structure? What lives at the bottom of Mammoth Cave? We have theories, but no proof. Theory 1, it's a dimensional anchor, a point where our reality intersects with another. The structure maintains that connection. The humming is the sound of realities rubbing together. Theory 2, it's a consciousness older than the cave, older than the earth, something that existed before our dimension formed. The cave grew around it, adapted to contain it, and it transforms anyone that reaches it, makes it compatible with its nature. Theory 3, it's a seed, planted millions of years ago by something beyond our comprehension, growing slowly, using the cave as a womb, transforming the limestone into something new, and anyone who descends becomes part of that growth, part of the transformation. Whichever theory is correct, the result is the same. Mammoth Cave is alive, not metaphorically, actually alive, and the depth sickness is its immune response, or its recruitment method, or its transformation process. The deep passages are its nervous system, the structure is its brain, and the transformed rangers and researchers are its thoughts, its dreams, its ambassadors.
Also, this is what terrifies me. The depth is rising. The level where the depth sickness manifests used to be 600 feet. Now, it's 550. The symptoms appear at shallower depths every year, like the structure's influence is expanding, reaching toward the surface. We've closed more passages, restricted access to deeper sections, but we can't close the entire cave system, can't admit why we're closing passages without revealing the truth. And the transformed ones keep returning, keep emerging briefly to touch people, transfer knowledge, recruit more. They want us to descend, want us to experience the transformation, want us to join the structure. Last month, Samuel Torres emerged for the first time in 7 years. He walked into park headquarters, touched the superintendent, transferred the knowledge of what he'd become, what awaited anyone brave enough to descend. The superintendent hasn't been the same since. Spends hours staring at maps of the deep passages, talks about evolution, about higher dimensional existence, about leaving behind biological limitation. I think he's going to descend, going to contract the depth sickness intentionally, going to transform and join the structure. And he won't be the last. If you visit Mammoth Cave, stay on the tour routes. Don't explore beyond marked passages. Don't descend below 400 feet. And if you feel any of the warning signs, heavy silence, temperature inversion, time distortion, evacuate immediately. The depths is patient. It's been here for millions of years. It can wait for you to descend on your own. But it prefers willing transformation, conscious choice to evolve. So it calls to people, makes them curious, makes them want to go deeper. If you feel that curiosity, if you feel drawn to the unexplored passages, if you dream about what might exist at the bottom of the cave, resist. It's the depth sickness beginning, the first stage of transformation. Because once you descend too deep, you can't come back. Not as yourself. You'll return to the surface transformed, crystalline, resonant, part of the structure. And you'll spend the rest of existence humming in harmony with an intelligence we can't comprehend. Some rangers think that's a good thing. Think transformation is evolution. Think the structure offers immortality and higher consciousness. They descend willingly. I think it's death. Not biological death, something worse. The death of individuality, the dissolution of self into a collective, becoming a cell in a larger organism, a note in an eternal song. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the transformed ones are happier. Maybe existence as crystalline consciousness in higher dimensions is better than biological life on the surface. I don't want to find out, so I'm retiring, leaving Mammoth Cave, moving to the mountains, somewhere with no caves, no depths, no possibility of descending too deep. Because I've felt it, the pull, the curiosity, the desire to know what exists at the bottom. And I know if I stay, eventually I'll descend. Eventually I'll contract the depth sickness. Eventually I'll transform. And I'll hum forever in the darkness. Part of the structure, part of the song, part of whatever is growing in the deepest parts of Mammoth Cave. The depth calls to everyone eventually. The only way to resist is to leave before you hear it. I'm leaving while I still can. My name is Ranger Elena Volkov, and I need to tell you about the transmission we receive every night at 11:47 p.m. A radio broadcast from somewhere in Denali, from someone who shouldn't be able to transmit, from someone who died 30 years ago. The transmission is always the same. This is Ranger Station North, position holding, weather deteriorating, request extraction, repeat, request extraction, do you copy? It broadcasts on an emergency frequency, every night, same time, same message, same voice. The voice belongs to Ranger David Schneider, who vanished during a winter storm in 1994. His body was never recovered. His station, a remote weather monitoring post called North Station, was found empty. No signs of struggle, no evidence of animal attack, no indication he'd left voluntarily, just absent. The radio was still on, still transmitting on the emergency frequency, and every night at 11:47 p.m., it broadcast the same message. Schneider's voice requesting extraction, a recording we assumed, set to loop, a cry for help that had come too late. We retrieved the radio equipment, brought it back for analysis, but the broadcasts didn't stop. Even with the physical radio removed from North Station, the transmission continued. Same frequency, same time, same message. Like Schneider's voice had been absorbed into the electromagnetic spectrum itself, became part of the radio waves, eternal, unchanging. For 30 years, we've received that transmission, every single night, without fail, and we've never been able to stop it. Over the years, multiple teams investigated the transmission, tried to locate its source, triangulate its origin, find what was broadcasting Schneider's voice. The signal appears to come from North Station's location, but there's no equipment there capable of transmitting. We've torn the station apart, found no hidden radios, no automated broadcasting equipment, nothing that could generate the signal. Yet it continues. Clear, strong, consistent. Like it's being broadcast from exactly where North Station stood. But there's nothing there. Just empty wilderness, frozen tundra, abandoned building. Some researchers theorized it was an atmospheric phenomenon, radio waves trapped in the ionosphere, reflecting back at predictable intervals. But that doesn't explain the content, doesn't explain why it's Schneider's voice, why it's always the same message, why it's always at 11:47 p.m. In 2010, a team placed recording equipment at North Station, trying to capture the broadcast at its source. At 11:47 p.m., their equipment detected the transmission, but it wasn't coming from the building, or from the ground, or from the air. It was coming from everywhere, the entire area simultaneously broadcast, like the land itself had become a transmitter, like Schneider's voice had been integrated into the environment, became part of Denali. In 2015, we tried responding, waited for the 11:47 transmission, and when Schneider's voice asked, "Do you copy?" we responded, "We copy. North Station, this is Park Service HQ. We're reading you. What is your status?" The transmission stopped mid-sentence. For 5 seconds, silence. Then, "HQ? Is that you? Finally. I've been waiting so long. The storm. It's still here. It won't end. I need extraction. Please. I can't hold position much longer." "David, the storm ended 30 years ago. You've been missing since 1994. Where are you?" Long pause. Then, 30 years? That's not possible. I've been here 3 days, 4 at most. The storm hit on the 20th. It should be the 23rd or 24th now. December 1994. You need to extract me. Before. Static. Then the transmission resumed its normal pattern. This is Ranger Station North. Position holding. Weather deteriorating. Request extraction. We tried responding again the next night, and the next. Sometimes we'd get interaction.
Schneider would respond to questions, describe his situation, claim the storm was still raging, that he was trapped in the station, that only days had passed since communication was lost. Other nights, the transmission would just loop. No interaction, no acknowledgement of our responses, like it was a recording rather than a live conversation. But the nights where Schneider responded were the worst, because his answers suggested he was still experiencing the storm, still living December 1994, still waiting for extraction that would never come. Trapped in some temporal loop, or pocket dimension, or memory echo, existing in a present that the rest of the world had moved past. In 2018, I led a winter expedition to North Station. We wanted to be there at 11:47 p.m., wanted to experience the transmission from ground zero, maybe find some clue about what was broadcasting, what had happened to Schneider. We arrived at the station on December 19th, 24 years and 1 day after Schneider had gone missing. The building was as we'd left it, empty, cold, maintained but not used. We set up equipment, prepared to monitor the 11:47 transmission. As the time approached, I felt something change. The air pressure shifted, the temperature dropped, and I heard wind. Not outside, inside my head. A storm that wasn't physically present, but was somehow audible anyway. At exactly 11:47, the transmission began. But this time, we didn't just hear Schneider's voice, we saw him. A figure appeared in the station, translucent, flickering, but recognizably human, wearing Park Service winter gear from the 1990s. He was working, checking equipment, recording weather data, maintaining emergency communications, completely unaware of our presence, like he existed in a different time, a different version of the station that overlapped with ours. I tried to interact, called his name, waved my hands in front of his face. No reaction. He couldn't see us or hear us, just continued his routine. And through the windows of the station, windows that in our reality showed December darkness, we could see the storm, the blizzard from 1994, still raging, still trapping him. For 5 minutes, we watched Schneider exist in his temporal pocket. Then he stopped, looked directly at our radio equipment, picked up the microphone, and transmitted, "This is Ranger Station North, position holding, weather deteriorating, request extraction." Then he faded. The storm vanished. We were alone in the empty, dark station, and our radio equipment confirmed the transmission had occurred. But Schneider was gone, returned to whatever temporal prison held him.
We've developed a theory about what happened to David Schneider. The storm in December 1994 was no ordinary weather event. It created a temporal anomaly, a fold in time where December 26, 1994 repeats endlessly. And Schneider is trapped in that loop, experiencing the same week over and over, never aging, never escaping, forever waiting for extraction. Every night at 11:47 p.m., the temporal fold becomes thin. The barrier between Schneider's time and ours weakens, and his transmission breaks through. His voice reaches across 30 years of time, calling for help, requesting rescue, believing it's still 1994. We can hear him, sometimes see him, occasionally interact, but we can't extract him, can't reach through the temporal barrier to pull him out. He's not in our time, he's in his own repeating present. And unless we can break the loop, he'll stay there forever. In 2022, we tried something desperate. We coordinated a rescue attempt during the transmission, timed it so we'd be at North Station at exactly 11:47 p.m., with extraction equipment, emergency supplies, everything Schneider would need if we could somehow pull him through. At 11:47, the transmission began. Schneider appeared. We approached him. This time, instead of watching, we tried to interact physically, tried to grab him, pull him into our time. For a moment, it worked.
I touched his arm, felt solid flesh through his parka, made contact with something real, and Schneider reacted, turned to look at me, saw me. His eyes widened with hope and confusion. "Who are you? How did you get here? The storm. You shouldn't be outside in this." "David, we're here to extract you. Come with us, now." I pulled, tried to bring him toward the door, toward our time, toward the present, and for 3 seconds he moved, stepped forward, started to cross the barrier. Then the storm intensified, the temporal fold resisted, and Schneider was yanked back, pulled into his loop. He screamed as he disappeared, and the last thing we heard before he faded was, "Please, don't leave me here, please." Then silence. The transmission stopped. For the first time in 30 years, there was no broadcast at 11:47 p.m. We thought we'd broken something, destroyed the fold, maybe freed Schneider, maybe killed him. We waited, hoping he'd appear, hoping our interference had worked. At 11:48, the transmission resumed. 1 minute late, but otherwise identical. "This is Ranger Station North. Position holding. Weather deteriorating. Request extraction." Except now there was something else in his voice. Desperation. Awareness. Like our attempt to rescue him had made him conscious of his trap, made him realize he was in a loop, made him understand he'd been calling for 30 years and help had come and failed. Since that night, the transmission has been different. Still the same words, still requesting extraction, but layered beneath the message, if you listen carefully, you can hear him crying. The Park Service has decided to stop trying to rescue David Schneider. The consensus is that he's beyond our reach, that the temporal fold is permanent, that attempting to break it might make things worse, might trap him more completely, might cause suffering without achieving rescue. So we just listen now. Every night at 11:47, we monitor the transmission, document it, keep a log, hoping that someday we'll understand enough about temporal mechanics to actually save him, but knowing that day may never come. I can't accept that, can't listen to his voice every night, can't hear the desperation beneath his words, can't live with the knowledge that he's aware now, that he's trapped, that he's calling for help, while fully understanding help won't come. So I'm leaving, transferring out of Alaska, going somewhere without radio equipment, somewhere I can't hear the nightly transmission, somewhere I can't be reminded that we failed him. But even in silence, I'll know. Every night at 11:47, somewhere in Denali, David Schneider's voice is broadcasting, requesting extraction, asking for help, trapped in a storm that never ends. And we're letting him stay there, because we can't figure out how to save him, because the temporal mechanics are beyond our understanding, because rescuing him might require breaking laws of physics we don't know how to break. So he'll transmit forever, or until the fold naturally decays, which could be centuries from now, millennia, his voice echoing across time, a monument to our failure. So, if you work in remote locations, if you staff weather stations or fire lookouts or research posts in isolated wilderness, if you experience unusual weather that seems to never end, if your time starts feeling wrong, if you find yourself repeating the same day, don't wait for extraction. Don't assume help is coming. Leave immediately. Break your schedule. Violate protocol if necessary. Because if you wait too long, if the temporal anomaly solidifies, you might end up like David Schneider, trapped in a moment, broadcasting for help, knowing help can hear you but can't reach you, living the same hours forever, aware and conscious and unable to escape. North Station still stands. We maintain it, check on it regularly,
But no one staffs it anymore. No one will take assignments there, because we all know David is still there, in his version of December 1994, experiencing the storm, waiting for extraction. And every night at 11:47, his voice reminds us that there are fates worse than death, worse than being lost, worse than disappearing, being found but unreachable, being heard but unable to be helped, being aware of your prison but unable to escape it. That's the fate of David Schneider, and it might last forever. So, if you're in Denali at 11:47 p.m., if you have a radio, if you tune to the emergency frequency, you'll hear him. This is Ranger Station North, position holding, weather deteriorating, request extraction. Do you copy? We copy, David. We always have. We just can't reach you. I'm sorry.
Friends, that was the story for today. I hope you enjoyed it and that it stayed with you in the best chilling way possible. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. Your time and support truly mean more than you know. This channel is growing because of listeners like you. If you want more real and disturbing encounters like this, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel continue bringing these stories to life. And if this story gave you chills, let me know in the comments. I read them all, and your thoughts make this community stronger. Until next time, turn off the lights, double-check the room, and I'll see you in the next story.